ladies and gentlemen, I am BorderWise, and welcome to APS Tetris by myself, BorderWise. Probably already said that. So what this video is all about today, it's been a while since I've done just a reasonably thorough, how to do guide video in From the Depths, is about advanced canon Tetris, as in the how to arrange blocks and autoloaders and gauge increases and all that stuff inside a turret. It's just, I'll be sharing a few of my own designs. I'm not a master APS person, but I've got the basics down. It works well enough for me, and we're just going to go through that, and right at the end of the video, I'll show you some, what the experts are capable of. So let's go on with it. So here we have our platform, full of basic one-barrel APS turrets, and over there we have our target, which is the crossbones, which is a lovely thing to shoot at. And to start off with, we're going to start from right to left, because I like going backwards. All of these guns are 400mm high explosive guns. There's two shell types over here. There's this, what's it called? So here's this 1-meter shell over here, gunpowder inertial high explosive head, and this one, which is just one block longer, 2-meter shell with a squash head on it. So, over here we have our first example of a 3x3 arrangement, which is actually a 5x5 because you'll notice that there is glass around this. Don't actually armor your turrets in glass, it's not the best idea. What this is just to kind of show you where exactly armor would go if this was a for real, for live combat turret. And so you can see inside how the blocks are arranged, and it's reasonably simple. If we shrink the block slightly, you'll see that snaking down from the firing piece, we have the firing piece itself, we have a left-right gauge splitter, and off the top we have more coolers and gauge increases which loop around like so, all there. Also, generally not a good idea to stick so much of the gun above deck. If possible, jam as much stuff as you can below decks of whatever craft you're doing it on. I just was I don't know, I did these things the quick and lazy way. It's not a bad idea to have the coolers above deck, because it means less hull space, but I would avoid it if you can. But the autoloaders and magazines and all that stuff, you definitely want to keep that below decks whenever possible. And so you see the gauge net comes all the way down here, splits at the bottom, goes off to the side, and up here. So now we get to the fun bit, which is how the autoloaders are arranged. And this particular one is a pure autoloader gun. It's only got autoloaders, it hasn't got any... So here we have autoloaders. It doesn't have any ammo clips at all because it doesn't really need them. In fact, generally, for a lot of advanced cannons, you don't really need to use clips. You can get away with just using autoloaders. It's a little bit more expensive, but it makes the Tetris a little bit easier, and also means the resulting gun is slightly less volatile, because these autoloaders only ever hold one shell at a time, as opposed to a clip, which can easily hold a lot of quite volatile, high explosive or frag shells. So that's worth noting. And the trick I found, and it took a long time for me to get the hang of advanced cannons for this very reason, is to let go of your desire for symmetry, because you'll notice this is not a symmetrical turret. It's got 1-meter autoloaders all down the middle, it's got input feeders all down one side, and then it's got this kind of messy pattern of autoloaders and feeders just on the side here, and it's the same on the back. So in total there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 14 loaders, which isn't a great amount for this kind of thing. But if we do a little test fire of it, pretty decent rate of fire. These aren't particularly big shells, worth noting. And if we go all the way over here, you can see that it keeps up its rate of fire pretty well. Not incredibly fast shells either. Also, hallelujah. And if we do this again, we will see that the thing is taking a quite long time to fire again, which is where you get into a problem with just using autoloaders. 14 shells fired. This thing has a cooldown of about a second or so, and it fires a shot, well, almost 60 shots a minute, which means it loses pretty much all its ammo, and then there's a lengthy reload time. So if we go here... Ah, yeah, it's just loaded again. Really should have set these all on different AIs. Hindsight's 2020. So, if we go over here, and if we fire again... Boom. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and done. So, less than ideal. So this, I should mention that none of these guns are particularly good, they're just more for demonstration purposes. But this one, not ideal. Like, this is a reasonably cheap turret, not perfect. So, what if you want to get more duck out of your 400mm gun? Well, that's when you go over here, and you stick more autoloaders in. So this is almost exactly the same gauge snake as the first one, and it's the same kind of ammo, same gauge, so same gauge snake in here, except it's a little bit bigger. So, not counting the armor on the sides, this is a 5x5 turret, so going across, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Corners are always left off on these things so it can move in a square space. And it has a lot more of them, so it has 1, 2, 3, times 3, 12, and 12, and 4, 16, 20 autoloaders. No, wait, that's not right. 16, my math is awful. 12, 24, plus 8, 32. Okay, so it's got 32 guns. And so it can keep up a sustained rate of fire a little bit longer. And if we go way over here, let's come see our handiwork. Really like how it's now been fixed. Tiny explosions are now less tiny. And this particular one can actually keep up a pretty good sustained rate of fire, just because it has more autoloaders. So when you're building any kind of advanced cannon, it's helpful to know what kind of shell you're using first. Because once you know the shell, you can build the gun around that. So this particular shell, reload time from clip, which is probably going to be a lot longer if you're using on the autoloaders, because there's a penalty for just using autoloaders. Time to pass shell to ammo clip. So if you're doing an autoloader only gun, a handy rule of thumb is this number, time to pass shell to ammo clip, divided by the number of loaders you have. That's your resulting rate of fire. It's not a perfect way of calculating your exact rate of fire, but it is a good starting point. So, say if you want this shell to do, say, 1 shot per second, you'll need around 35 loaders, so a little bit more than what I have on that gun over there. So, worth noting. But what if you... Okay, you stop that. So what if you really want a good rate of fire, and crossbones is taking a bit of a knock? That's when you use belt-fed loaders, and the advantage of this is belt feeders load that shell a lot faster than a regular autoloader does, and this is where the clips come in. They're essential for belt feeders. You can't use belt feeders without them, and this arrangement is really easy because this is actually symmetrical as well. You can make this in about 5 minutes. So you have the belt feed autoloader. Take note that that pointy pin on the bottom, that is where the clip attaches, and the clip, that funnel thing, so not the point here, it's the funnel thing, that's where it connects onto the belt-fed autoloader. And you have a whole bunch of these down here, and this is a 400mm gun, so per clip there's not a lot of shells, so 3, 6, 9, 12, 24 shells, so almost as many shells as what's in this gun here, with the exception of using a lot of less space. So if you're using less smaller shells, belt feeders are a pretty good way to go. The trick is that you do need to stick enough ammo intakes on the thing so that when the thing has run out of ammo in this particular belt, I guess you could call it, in fact that's exactly what it is, it can reload pretty quickly. So it's got 12 shells in there. It has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so 10 loaders, so it'll reload in less than a minute, which is not bad for a belt feeder. Honestly, if you really want to go bananas, like you would stick even more loaders on here if possible. Like you'd stick one over here and one over here, but this particular arrangement doesn't allow for that because it needs room for the armor. So this thing, let's see. Does it actually have a better cooldown? Nah, so it's got a very slightly better rate of fire, but because it only has 2 loaders, it kind of goes bang, 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 and then away it goes. This turret is also, I believe, let's say this right here, like so, that is just below 3,000, whereas this one over here is almost exactly 1,000 materials more. So belt feeders are a great way to save on both cost and space, but like they have their limitations. You can only have a 1 meter long shell in them and all that kind of stuff, and the Tetris can be quite easy for a belt feeder. In fact, as I've shown in my video on APS categories, like it's not that hard to make a belt feeder that never needs to stop to reload. All you need to do is have multiple belt fed autoloaders with varying sizes of clip length sticking out of them, because it means one runs out, others keep going, and then they just essentially take turns firing and loading, which works pretty well. But now moving on, so 1 meter autoloaders are quite easy to Tetris because it's just 1 by 1 cubic blocks. When you start getting into bigger autoloaders, now you have to start getting pretty cunning. So this gun is armed with those hash shells that I showed earlier, and these have 2 meter loaders. And it's still quite easy to fit a 2 meter autoloader into a 3x3 space, simply because, well, like you have the 2 meter loader, you have the input, and that's 3 meters across. So in this particular case, it's just arranged like that. It's reasonably simple and not symmetrical. That is possibly the best advice I can give for making APS guns, is that often you cannot make them perfectly symmetrical. In fact, often advantageous not to, because, yeah, it just doesn't work so well. You have so much more freedom if you just let it go and don't worry about making the thing symmetrical and pretty on the inside. Although some people can actually make a gun look pretty on the inside as well, and I'm very envious of that. So this gun number 3 here, so let's go way over to the crossbones over here. So a slightly longer shell means there's slightly more ducker, slightly lower rate of fire. Yeah, I believe that hash has been nerfed slightly in the last update. It's not doing quite as well as I remember it doing. And missed. Okay, so once again, that's that 3x3. Now we go to the 5x5, and you can just keep repeating patterns like this. You keep sticking them out like this, but you're gonna have to get a little bit more clever a little bit later. So this last gun right here, similar story but better sustained rate of fire. Slightly faster rate of fire as well. So if we go all the way back over here to our target, honestly shouldn't have put the crossbones this far away. So bang, bang, oh there we go, there's the hash doing work. That's more like it. Yeah. So this is a very basic Tetris for guns which have just one barrel. So smaller guns work pretty well with this kind of thing. You just don't be symmetrical, don't worry about it, and you'll be fine. And let's turn all of these things on and just ruin the day of this crossbones, because that's fun. See how long she lasts. Not very long. What shot was that? You notice that some of the guns have stopped firing now, because they're out of ammo and they're now reloading. Whereas I believe it is, yes, this belt feeder and this larger gun here. Yep, larger guns have better sustained rate of fire, which is kind of obvious, really. From the depths, generally bigger is better. And we'll stop there. So once again, none of these guns are incredibly good. They're not bad, but they're honestly not good either. Like, a 400mm flak gun is, like, really good for taking out incoming missiles and small fast targets. Regular high explosive, less so. So, let's delete that fortress and move on to the next bit. And we're gonna get our new target in here, which is my favorite, the Iron Cordon.
Turning off.
Probably shouldn't have used the Iron Cordon for this, because it's got lambs on it. I still hate lambs. Hang on, which way are we pointing? South, east, yes, this way. So, APS Tetris 2. You'll notice it's slightly more expensive.
Turning off.
So now, this fortress is a little different, because there's no varieties of gun on here. These are all the same, exact same turret. There's 5 of them because I just made 5 of them because that's fun for me. I like it. And so, you'll notice these are all twin turrets. They all got 2 guns in them. And I used to tear my hair out trying to figure out how to get this to work, because even if I could get 2 guns in one turret, there was always a bit of wasted space in the middle. Like, this game is based around cubes and squares, and two-barreled things, well, double anything, tends to have a trouble with that, because you almost always have one block running straight down the middle, unless you're a genius. And so the trick with this is, once again, asymmetry, and secondly, take advantage of a particular little feature of APS autoloaders, is that they connect to each other only with those pins that are currently on the bottom. So 1, 2, 3, 4 around it. So this autoloader has those pins attaching to its immediate neighbors, which are connected to the gun on the right here. So here's the gauge snake, and the gap in the middle, unfortunately, is wasted space. I've just put recoil absorbers in there, because they're, like, no, they don't do any harm, and it's like, I hate leaving air gaps in my turrets. It makes me sad. And you'll notice that on the one side, for this gun right here, and God bless the FTD team for making it so that you can highlight specific systems, this particular gun starts in the gauge increase and snakes down like this, and it also snakes here and around, and it is asymmetrical. So this line is going down the bottom, the other gun is going on the top, and the other gun is snaking down here. And getting to what I should have said first, these autoloaders are this side up, so all the pegs are down, and these autoloaders are the other way up, so all the pegs are up. And if you'll see closely where those pegs are pointing at, this peg, the pegs around this autoloader are just pointing to its neighbors and to the input feeders of the other gun. So these are not connected at all, and that's important, because if you do connect 2 guns like this with autoloaders or gauge increasers or connectors, it pretty much just makes it all gets slaved to one gun and the other one's useless, so you want to avoid that. So it is still symmetrical, kind of, but not from the front or the sides, kind of on a diagonal. So yeah, that is the simplest way to make a double-by-double turret, and you can see from the top, it kind of snakes around a little bit. So the gun on the right, it has the front here, the gun on the left has the back, and not actually that hard to make it. You just gotta keep careful count of the autoloaders per gun, and in fact, in this particular case, these are 3-meter long shells. Using something like a 3-meter wood block as a kind of ruler to like say like, okay, here, 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 and then just replacing them with autoloaders. That can be a handy construction trick. And yeah, this technique works for any autoloader larger than 1 meter. It does not work with 1 meter autoloaders because they connect all the way around, so you can't put them next to each other without them connecting. So this trick is very handy for larger shell types, like what these guns have. And by the way, one of the best advantages of having twin guns like this is because each gun is an entirely separate system. And you'll notice that just looking here, I just noticed the loaded shell length of this gun is, what's it, 2.8 meters. That one's exactly 3, and that is because it's 2 shell types right here. This is possibly still the most meta boring combination you can have. One shell is a standard squash head, so it's a Hesh shell, great against armor. And this one is a disruptor shell, which is great against anything not armored. I believe all these guns are 500 millimeters, so they make a real mess of things. So let's pause so we get over there. So let's see how many of these shells the Iron Cordon actually manages to snipe out of the air. Or it could miss entirely. Nope, there we go. Now, admittedly, 5 of these guns is slight overkill, but you know what? Nothing's too annoying for the Iron Cordon. This thing was the bane of my life for years. Well, years. Weeks, months. And just mixing shell types like these is generally a really good idea, and twin guns like that are a great way to do it. So yeah, I could watch this all day. Oh yeah. And that's Hesh for you. Doesn't care about armor, doesn't care about you hiding your volatile explosive bits inside the ship. It will get it. So yeah, I see this combination of Hesh and Disruptor very, very often. A lot of the ships, what the? Yeah, I should mention again, these do not have a proper sustained rate of fire. They're out of ammo, they're reloading. Always try and have a continuous rate of fire for your APS guns, because, I don't know, like, you don't want gaps where they aren't shooting at things, because even in the campaign, there are craft that will repair between your volleys, and that is very frustrating. You want sustained fire, unless you really dump a lot of shells on them at once. And happy coincidence here is that the Disruptor shell that these fires has a slightly shorter cooldown than the other shell, which means they fire first, which is great. It means that the Hesh shells are more likely to hit armor, and less likely to just ping off shields and straight into the stratosphere. And as much as I'd like to shoot at the Iron Cordon all day, there is two more platforms to get through, sorry. So let's do this again, and now we'll get our new target in, and what is the new target? Something annoying. Which do I feel like? Which do I feel like? What fills me with hate more these days? Right, yeah. I know exactly what. We'll shoot at the perforator, because the perforator, I don't know. Perforator makes me sad, I am not a fan of it. And yeah, so APS Tetris 3, and this one has very big guns on it. Now, so same thing again, there's no variety of guns on here, these are all the same turret, except these are 3x3, and that is awesome for a variety of reasons. Firstly, because it means you can have 3 different shell types quickly and easily in one turret. I know these turret caps are spectacularly ugly, I apologize for that. And what was it? So yeah, 3 different shell types in one turret, nice and easy. You can just have a single gun system with mixed ammo, but it means you have to go into the turret itself and tweak every input feeder individually, and ain't nobody got time for that. So the Tetris of this is the exact same principle of the twin gun turret, in that the autoloaders are arranged like some of them upside down, the others are right side up. In this particular case, you've got that middle gun down the middle. That is like so. Middle gun is all the pegs are down, and on the side, all the pegs are up, and none of the pegs are touching an autoloader that they should not be touching. And this particular one has, I believe, so we go here, so 29 shells, 32 shells, 29 shells, and that is, I'm fine with that. I could have obsessed over that a little bit more to get every gun having exactly the same amount of shells in autoloaders, but I didn't feel like it. Like, that's, if you want them to have exactly the same amount of shells, you just replace autoloaders down here, just by essentially flipping them upside down. So say I want this, I want to have this one, I want more shells on this side of the gun, I just go over here, well, I take this one, delete it, flip it around, and then just replace it like that, and it should connect to this one instead of this gun over here. And let's talk about these guns a little bit more in detail. So again, 500mm, but, and you probably already guessed this, rather big turrets, so it's like, let's see what it is. It is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 by 13, corners shaved off so they can traverse properly. 13 by 13 turrets with 8-meter long autoloaders, and awesome party mix ammunition. So we have the Disruptor, pops off shields very well, quite a fast shell, 400 meters per second, and this is a monster squash head. And this is a penetration depth shell with a mix of stuff in it. It's mostly high explosive, but it's also got smoke, frag, and just it's really good once the shields are down and it can dig into armor and wreck house a bit. So let's have it wreck house a bit. Perforator up there firing stuff. Oh god, that shells are faster. That shell's faster than I thought. So now shields are having an off day at the moment, I should mention. But yeah, if you have disruptor shells that big, shields are not a problem. And this whole triple gun, nice variety of stuff, is also very meta, very good, do recommend, and the trick is just with the Tetris, is just turn autoloaders upside down. Oh my god, the lag. The lag is real. Please don't crash. Another reason to hate frag guns is just they lag the game to pieces when they explode. As you can see, we're having a good time here. These shells are making an absolute mess of the perforator. Perforator's down 80% health already. In fact, let's just watch it die. Assuming my guns can actually hit the target. What are you doing? Aiming like a weirdo. Love it. Stop aiming weird. Oh god, not again. Yeah, this ship's getting hit so hard it's making the universe slow down. Yeah, these guns are kind of inaccurate, and I'm not a fan of that. I should probably tweak them a little bit more so they don't do that. So yeah, that is basic APS Tetris, and as you can probably see, you can make some pretty scary guns with it, and it looks like they are out of stuff. Okay, never mind. They've got a speedy reload. Whee! They're also set to attack random blocks, which doesn't help their case. And Perforator is not long for this world, actually. Oh god. There goes another one. Actually, no, let's turn the UI off. Let's see this in all its explodey glory. Huh? Almost dead. Almost dead. I'm sorry if I'm lingering on this a little bit much, but I love watching the perforator die. I am getting to know its insides almost as well as its outsides simply because, well, it dies beautifully. There's nothing quite like watching it starting to leak steam and realizing, aha! No more electrical battery power for your particle cannon. I have killed it. So you see, make a real mess. APS is one of the most powerful weapons in the game for this very reason. You're very versatile and you can mix ammo quite nicely. And let's watch it dissolve like tissue paper because that makes me happy. Okay, so as I said, that's the basics out of the way. Excuse me. That's the basics out of the way, pretty much. Now, I'm just going to quickly show you 4 turrets made by people who know APS quite a bit better than me. And they don't use the same method I use. My method is actually quite boring and lazy, really. So, very basic, very straightforward, nothing fancy. However, remember, in From the Depths, there are no rules, there are only guidelines. So let's spawn in, well, I guess we can spawn in the other thing we were going to spawn in, and that is the always have your target ready. Where are you, babe? There you are. You are over there. I'm going to spawn my stuff over here. APS Tetris 4, and this one is a little bit different, and thank you to all those who when I just was on the Discord server the other day, just said like, oh hey, when I asked for examples of wacky APS Tetris, they responded immediately, so thank you Prophet, thank you Hikari, thank you Sabertooth Proton, thank you Blarent, you are lovely people, and yeah, that's thank you so much, that's very helpful, because I could never have made these in a million years. So, again, from right to left, you can see, well, in order of size at least, anyway, like, you're probably already looking at the green and blue monstrosity over there. We'll get to that. So, first up, we have this fellow right here, which is Prophet Seawiz, close-in weapon. So this is a tiny little APS. It looks more like an experimental one, to be perfectly honest, than anything else, because, yeah. Ow! Goodness, that's loud. So, very fast rate of fire, and these are the shells it fires. Tiny, tiny. So, 18mm sabot shells, not incredibly good. They do virtually no damage. Like, 8 kinetic damage, so presumably, like, this, once the missile update is through, this could make a decent, like, anti-missile gun, but at the moment, as it is now, not very good, but let's look at the Tetris. So here you have belt feeders that, well, no, not autoloaders. You have regular autoloaders and ammo clips, and one of the bonus of great things about doing this is that it, like, you see the shell loading speed modifiers? It cuts down on the number of total autoloaders, which means that they don't suffer the whole penalty from not receiving from clips. That's a game mechanic for a reason. So yeah, you can... It all depends on what you want out of your gun. So if you're finding that autoloaders alone isn't good enough for a sustained rate of fire, then clips are the way to go. Otherwise, autoloaders only can do the trick. Now, moving on. So the next up is this thing I call the Sabertooth Belt Fed, because the Sabertooth Proton flicked this one at me. Similar story to the guns I've previously showed off, in that it doesn't bother with symmetry at all. Also rather a tall gun. So you follow the gauge snake from the bottom all the way up here. Also, similar story. There's just a tiny little hydraulic recoil absorber down here, just to fill in the space. And follow the snake up, follow the snake up. You see here is test snake. Here it is, snaking up there, snaking up here, and there is the firing piece. And there is another, well, there's another gauge increase right there, and then lots of belt-fed autoloaders. So here's the belt-fed, here's the ammo clip, and all the way down, and lots of inputs. So if you're making a belt feeder, this is a good way of doing it. Just have lots and lots of inputs to cut down on the reload time as much as possible. And this particular gun fires quite a lovely frag mix. So this is a pretty standard fragmentation shell. So in this particular case, it's a timed fuse one because, I don't know, Sabretooth didn't actually... I don't think he actually sent me a shell type with this one, so I just kind of improvised. Frag works well with this, so if we turn that on, and the turret isn't the best target for this because it's huge and heavily armored, but go over here, spitting out frags. It's actually clipping blocks off a little bit by little bit. Block here, block there, and everywhere. Actually, like, I'm finding, like, because shields have had an accidental nerf, is that frags are once again incredibly irritating. So, we'll turn that off for a second, back over here. And now we get into Blarant's little offering, which is off a ship of his called the Brawler. In fact, I will spawn in the Brawler right now, so you can see it. So, over here, Discord Craft, date, and Brawler hull 2... Nope. Turn that off. Turn that off right now. Turn that off right... Yeah, we go. So, it's this gun. This is a secondary gun on the side. It's stuffed full of other guns. It's got big crams on it. It's got... What is this? This is a flat gun. Yeah, that's a pretty standard flat gun. Like, I like the kind of how Blarant has almost a signature turret style. It's like these kind of squat, tall little turrets, which looks really good, actually. It's very World War II, like, warship kind of thing. And look at that circular turret again. But anyway, getting away with myself. This is a triple-barreled 100mm thing. Well, it's more like... How many barrels does it have? 6. So, 6, 12, 18. 18 little barrels. Each gun has its own little ammo, so it is... I believe it is Sabot, kinetic ammo, Disruptor ammunition, and then Frag. Might be getting the order wrong there. So we're going to send you to the other dimension for the moment, because we've had enough of you. And this thing fires blisteringly fast. It's not incredibly effective against wheel-shielded targets, because those disruptors are too small. But I just remember we're meant to be looking at the Tetris, and the Tetris in here is a little bit mind-melting. So... over here you have one gun. It's similar story still, as like none of the autoloaders are touching. In fact, yeah, so right here, here's a belt-fed autoloader. In the middle gun, it's right next to here. And if you go along here, there's a different one. All neatly parceled out. So no autoloader touches, no connector. I don't think there are connectors in here, actually. And there's, like, no reason for any gun to, like, get mixed up. So, but still... similar principle, this gun is actually looks to be symmetrical, or very close to it. Middle gun has the middle bit, side guns have the side bits, and I'm just gonna see if each gun has the same amount of ammo in it. So, 584 shells, nope, 1,000, over 1,000 shells, 584, so probably not a big deal. This middle gun will keep firing for twice as long, which, again, it staggers the fire. It means it can fire more continuously, which is a good thing. And brace yourselves, because this is going to lag my computer something amazing. Ow, that's loud. So you can see absolute river of stuff. There's the tiny disruptor. There is the frag, and here is the Sabot shell. And it's just going to fire like crazy. Once again, Tur is not the best target for this, but it sneaks through like that, so it's probably a bit overkill for a secondary weapon, but... and you can see, not sure, there it is, yeah, a shield projector was just popped off. So spamming small disruptor shells can be a pretty decent way of getting through shields. Doesn't always work, which is where we get to the last gun here. So, this is what Hikari has sent me, and as usual, her stuff has naturally got to be bigger and more crazier than anyone else's. This is a 9-barreled turret, and I would usually advise against going above 3 guns in one turret. But Hikari doesn't follow your rules. Hikari is OP, please nerf. And the Tetris in here is a little bit scary. This is a huge gun, by the way. So it has 3 types of ammo in it. I believe that... Let's just have a quick squiz. So... Access intakes. It has a monster... well, it has Squash, Heat Secondary, and Frag for one of them. It has... a Monster Disruptor shell that also has a Smoke Warhead on it. Just interesting. Disruptor and Inertial Fuse. Like, by the way, if you didn't know already, Disruptor conduits don't really need Inertial Fuse. Because they trigger upon contacting a shield, and they never bounce off it. And they're pretty useless against armor anyway, so it's usually not a good point. Interesting choice, but yeah, it's like, you can do that, it works. And access here, and this is just a, well, it's a really fast, big, high explosive flak warhead. It's also timed fuse, so when this thing goes, it goes and tends to fry anything even remotely near it. And also, what with the patch, like, making explosions reflect the power of them and the radius of them a bit better, flak looks way more terrifying than it actually is, because that flak damage is not high, it's just under 600. It looks like it just envelops the entire ship. And I believe the other guns are... Yep. And that's Composite. That's Disruptor. And that is Squash. And that's Disruptor. And that is, Heat? Well, this is a pure Heat one, what the hell? What are all these different? They are all different! No, they're not different. What the hell? Oh no, subcontrast. There's... Well, I read that completely wrong. And what do we have here? We have Composite again. So, 3 big nasty shells in this big nasty turret, and now let's look at the Tetris. So, follow me down the rabbit hole as we track just one of these guns. So here we have a firing piece following the gauge snake, and again this triple thing up here splits over here. Some of it goes up, some more coolers. Other one goes down here, and snakes inward a bit. And then it snakes way... Oops, wrong button. Way down here, and then splits, and here's where it's a very good idea, if you're making multiple guns in one turret, is to color them differently so you can tell them apart. So, right here you have this rather alarming intersection that's symmetrical but not quite symmetrical. So again, asymmetry is very helpful here. It's kind of like a... I was about to say swastika, but yeah, it's a little... let's face it, it is like that. So you see, this one is a little bit this way, this one's a little bit this way, this one's a little bit this way. I should call it like a... I don't know. Damn it, I've forgotten what they're called. A little sunflower wheel. So each bit coming off the center is just angled a little bit different. So where was our friendly one? It was this pink one. Pink's a lovely color. So this one snakes all the way down here, and this tiny section, well, slightly tiny, it's like huge actually. This section of the turret is all dedicated to this one gun right here. And same over here. So that's 1, that's 2, that's 3, that's another one, that's another one, that's another one, and it's all just painstakingly, none of them touching each other, and that's actually where clips come in quite handy, because you'll notice that the clips can be right next to each other with no problems. And that's how Hikari's done it here. Like so, autoloader right there, uh-oh, you've got another autoloader over here, stick a clip in the middle. That can work quite nicely actually. And yes, now I know what you're all thinking, you want to see this thing fire. Well, allow me to oblige you. It's not enough that it has 9 massive guns, it also fires. Oh my god! See what I told you about flak being completely stupid? Oh my goodness. Stop firing for a second, I want to see what you've done to this poor ship's backside. And the turret is... wow, actually... okay, that was very underwhelming. Okay, Hikari 333. Keep going, let's see how quickly you kill this turret. But you can see, like... Ugh, can't see anything, actually. You can see how, like, the basic principle I'm saying is, like, if nothing else take away from this, is that when building an advanced cannon, it doesn't need to be symmetrical. In fact, it's better if it isn't. It's easier to juggle autoloaders around if you don't do that. Okay. I think this is a testament to just how stupidly strong the turret is because that massive gun is still taking its sweet, sweet time and killing him. Are we there yet? Maybe it's just because it's aiming towards the back. Nope, never mind. That was the ammo going up. So we could watch this all day, actually, but I think that'll do for now. So yeah, basic APS... Oh dear, one shell didn't make it. So basic APS Tetris with a, like, sneak peek at some more advanced stuff. So thank you all so much for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe if you want to see more videos like this, and I will see you next time in From the Depths. Guides to various things. Hope this video was helpful. Have a good day. Farewell!